So I did this assignment for the class and then went back and found that the video had switched off. So it's already done. I'm just going to talk our way through this a little bit so that you have something to review, because we're trying to develop a skill here. This assignment was to look at the melody and then figure out what harmonies are best implied and write a bass line that would work with it, that avoided all the parallel and consecutive octaves and fifths, and then hidden and direct octaves and fifths, and had good doubling, not doubling tendency tones. And then afterwards to go fill in inner parts. And even though it said like 3 parts here, SAB and SATB, 4 parts in SAB, we're just going to do 4 parts for all of them so we get practice on that. Your job was to watch this video, see the reasoning behind it, and then once this is set up, to do the inner parts. I'm just going to go over this briefly so that you have some rationale on why I did what I did here. And there'll be another video with another, let's look at a bass line and see what's implied kind of thing, or a melody and see what's implied. This is a hard thing. You know your chord progressions, you know your cadences, you know your error checking rules, but to put this all together and stack all those things at once is difficult. Because you're drawing on the information in different ways. So I think the most important thing here is to understand the ground rules and sort of an order of operations from what we do here. First thing is you just want to play the melody and know what it sounds like, right? So and until we get really good at this, we're not going to try and do anything unorthodox or crazy. We want to go with the simplest thing possible that makes the most sense, and we have to sort of draw in, does the chord progression work, the cadences work, and does the writing of the lines create either good harmony or at least avoid problems, okay? So first thing I like to do is I put these into the key, right? And think about 1 and 5 chords because they frame up the keys, and I'm going to look at the beginning and the ends of the phrases. I'm actually going to look at the end here. And see, this goes T, T, Do, right? So this is like 5, 5, 1. Could it be a 7 chord? Sure, but 5's better. Even this Re, T, T, Do, could this be a 2 chord? Sure, but it's going to be a 5 chord. This whole thing's going to be 5. I'm going to try and keep it as simple as possible. And so with that being the case, then this is an authentic cadence right here. I've spelled my chords. I figured out what's the tendency tone that I don't want to double. And then I just made it as simple as possible without root position. Now, when I wrote the original thing out, I got to here up the octave because of the line I chose, and then I just jumped down an octave. It's the same thing as keeping it the same just for space. And I'll just play it for you. It's like Ray, right? And then jump the octave, but it's the same note, right? Sounds fine. And if you check it, this is a 5th going to a 3rd apart. I know it's more than that, but A to C is a 3rd. So we don't have repeated 5ths, and we don't jump into an octave or a 5th with them moving, you know, in similar directions, skips and things. And even still, this is the same note, so it's not really moving in the same direction or similar motion for purposes of direct octaves and 5ths. And then from here, it goes into an octave. So there's no parallel 5ths or octaves or anything like that. That takes care of half of that. Go back to the beginning. Mi, well, you could harmonize with a 3 or a 6 or, you know, all these things, but a 1 chord. We want a 1 chord at the beginning, right? So mi, re, re, do. I mentioned in the other video that didn't work that if this was just a melody and we weren't harmonizing everything with chord tones, then I'd probably just stretch this all as a 1 chord and make these non-chord tones, right? But that's not part of our design yet. Next term, when we do non-chord tones, then we'll apply that. But mi is 1, right? And do is going to be a 1 as well. And the thing you put between them for scale degree 2, E, right? It's going to be my 5 chords. So do, so, do. And then because we're not moving here, I will move there. Does that make sense? Like as a counterpoint kind of idea. If somebody's doing a lot of movement, somebody should hold back and play support. It's not 100% fast and true rule, but it's a good principle to work on. And so from a third to a fifth, right? And then this fifth squeezes into another third, opposite directions. There's no skips, so we can't have direct octaves or anything. This holds over, steps up, skips up, steps up. So although we're going from a fifth, we're in a third here, well, sixth, right? Going to a fifth. And since this is stepping, there's no problems. And you can just hear them. They sound totally fine, like, right? Right? And then keep going, right? So you can go ahead and lay in your alto and your soprano. I know it says SATB, or SAB, we're doing SATB. All right, this one here, we're gonna do same thing. We're gonna look at our cadences. So it says E flat, and we have this thing at the end which goes from here, right? So the whole thing. And again, if this was a place where we're using non-chord tones, I might not even harmonize that. I might go like so, or re, mi, and think of this as a non-chord tone, but you know, so re is part of the 5 chord, B, D, F, right? And mi is part of the 1 chord, E, G, E flat, G, B flat. And so this is gonna be 5, 1. And just going backwards, I'm gonna make this whole thing be mostly about 5, right? So 5, and then, okay, nice little imperfect authentic cadence, right? Then I went from the beginning and I said, look, this makes skips in the same direction. I'm going to do the whole thing as a 1 chord, right all the way through to here. However, since this is going from root to third, I'm going to go from third, eventually getting down to root and employing what we call the contrary motion voice exchange. It's not the formula, but the principle is the same. I could have gone down immediately, or I could have held out and gone down. I chose to move in opposite motion to keep this stable while this skipped, and then, you know, once we've entered into the chord, now we'll do opposite motion and be stable while that skips back down, right? So we're, right, and then, okay. Here, it's gonna have to be some kind of predominant, because we're not using 5/7s yet. So this is either going to be my 2 chord, right? F, A, C, F, A flat, C, or it's going to be my 4 chord, A flat, C, E flat. And I chose the 2 chord because that's what Bach would have done. He likes the 2 in a major key because he felt like the 4 was a little too sweet. It's fine in minor, but it's, you know, if he has a choice, he's going to go here as a predominant to my 5. It's got to be a predominant because I'm going to my 5, and it's also not part of the 1 chord. And I chose to skip down and move in opposite direction because I could see that this is skipping down. I don't want any chance of parallelisms here, so I skipped down ahead of time so we can do stepwise motion up in opposite direction there. And if we go through, we'll find that we never have any parallel octaves or fifths and stuff. This last one here is a little, it's not controversial. Music like this is not controversial. But the best harmonization would have been a 1, 4, 1, and then 5, and then 6 would be good here, although you could do 1 as well. Just looking at it. But I said, well, we've done 2, let's be a little more unconventional. And so I decided to go 1 and go to my relative major here, right? This is something Bach would have done a lot. And so I can't, if I go subtonic 7 to 3, so I get my circle of fifths kind of feel here. 3 is often preceded by its own 5, which is subtonic 7, so I'm spelling out a lot more chords here. Then I don't want to go in parallel motion because this would be a 5th, and then if I went down to root position, that would be a 5th right there. We don't want that, so I'm going in opposite direction. So this is first inversion going up, and you know, you can't really hear it right now, but it's going to have a great sound when you harmonize it, right? And then working backwards from here, 5, 1, right? Like this is 2 to 3, right? So it would be 5, 1, right? And then I'm just looking at these as predominants ahead of time. I ended up going 5 to 6 here just because I liked going 6, 4, 2, so I can do all of my things. If you're gonna have a 1 chord here, you're not gonna have a 1 chord here, right? If you're gonna have a 4 chord here, you're not gonna have a 4 chord here, right? Or a 6 chord here, 6 chord here. You need it to change. And so what I found was I could play that game where 6 goes down to 4, which goes down to 2. They like to go down. They can skip all that way, but they generally don't like to go back up. And I hit all of them before I went to my 5, which I think is a very strong chord progression, right? The only thing that's controversial about this one here is 3 going to 5 generally doesn't happen in major. You can get away with it in minor a little more. It's a little more controversial thing. And then at the end of the video, I thought this sounded better going to a Picardy third. Happy endings, very Baroque thing to do. Anyhow, I made my bass line and I checked all those things again. Is this a 5th? Is it going to another 5th? Is it a unison? Is it going to another unison? Made sure I didn't have any of those things. Here, with the skips, I just made sure, first off, as I'm going 5 to 1, this is stepping up, so this is coming down. When I made my skips here, I made sure that this stayed the same, right? 4 going to a 2, 6, so that I don't have movement here. Well, I have movement here. Steps up while that skips down, so I'm avoiding all those issues, right? And so if I play this for you, so that sounds fine to me. It doesn't sound like I ruined anything from going 3 to 5, right? And then I'm going to go to a major 1 because it sounds sweet. Again, sorry that we didn't get to go through this step by step. The video just stopped working. So not only is this late for you in class, but you'll have to catch up on it later, but you don't get all the steps. But hopefully that's useful for you.